Cause the devil's trying to break me down.
That's it. That's enough. We've had it. Because guess what? It's time for the big salami.
It's time.
Time for the big meat, the big cheese, the big kahuna. Anything else big? The Mondo Burger. We got the main card, but not just the main card. We got the top 3 fights going on. We got
Title fights. All 3 title
fights galore. Okay? Not 1 belt, not 2 belts, but 3 belts.
Not
and
3
technically
belts,
not
not
even
4
just 3
belts,
belts.
not 5 belts.
5 belts. We have 3 belts on the line, but 5 total belts entering the octagon this weekend. Okay? So first off,
The Octagon.
Peter, however you want to say it. I don't give a damn. I call him Peter.
It's Petter.
Peter Yan. I don't care. I just said I don't care. Why are you caring? All right, Karen.
Because it's not Piotr.
It's not
That's it.
Piotr. And anybody who says
And
that
it can be anything else.
wrong.
It can be anything else. It cannot be Piotr. If you call him Piotr, I don't like you very much.
Petter Piper
I mean,
picked a
it's
pack
just
of pickled peppers and then beat Aljamain Sterling's ass.
Don't call him Piotr, please. Just stop.
Petter Yan.
There's no
versus Aljamain Sterling.
O-U in
All right?
there.
This is a good fight.
Great fight.
This is a good-ass fucking fight. We're cussing in this bitch. This is a good-ass fucking fight.
We saw, I think we might have been together when we saw Aljamain defeat Sandhagen, and he caught a hold of his neck and then did not let it go
Just
for
like
anything.
Cinched it up. Just, yeah.
And Aljamain has been a guy in the UFC for a long time. He's been a guy that's been at the top.
Yeah.
But he's always had that setback, always had that loss. He's never been ready for a title shot. Everything has fallen in place for Aljamain
Perfectly.
Sterling
Stars have aligned.
to get that title shot, and now he has it. The problem is he's fighting Petr Yan, who just
Who's a
reminds me of a buzzsaw. He reminds me of just a guy that does not quit or give up in any situation. And I could be wrong too, but and I said earlier I have a soft spot for Aljo. I saw him fight in Kansas City. But the thing is, the only thing that's not there for Petr Yan is the quality of opponents. And you could argue that because he fought Jose Aldo, but I think Jose Aldo was too old. Uriah Faber, great name. Uriah Faber was too old. But that's the only thing you can argue is the quality of opponents. Aljo's fought better now in the division. But Petr Yan's real good. He's a buzzsaw.
I mean, ever since Sterling's lost to Marlon Moraes, it's just been win after win after win after win against big names. You got Cody Stamann, you got Jimmy Rivera, you got Pedro Munoz, you got Corey Sandhagen. I mean, that's win after win after win after win after win against quality opponents. The Funk Master himself is out here getting things done and putting on a clinic too when he does it. I mean,
he's earned
getting
it.
rear naked chokes. He's had 2 unanimous over there, unanimous over Munoz and Rivera, but he's just actually and Brett Johns, who I didn't mention. But in between there, he's got 2 submissions, a knee bar, and a rear naked choke. So Aljamain can come in here and do some damage. But the thing is, Petr can wrestle. Petr has a very good ground game. He's also dangerous on the ground. He can ground and pound you. He can just ragdoll you. But we know he can also stand up. We've seen it with the guy. I mean, Petr is really probably the most well-rounded fighter in the division. But Aljamain brings one of those things that he's kind of just like a lightning rod. He's electric.
Who do you got?
You want me to? I was trying to finish my dialogue here, asshole.
Sorry.
I was saying Aljamain's kind of a lightning rod, and he can surprise you. So
Definitely.
when I look at this matchup, I think this is another one to put money on. I think now, I don't know about you. I'm going to stick with the champ. I'm going to go Petr Yan. I think he's poised. I think his skill is just that much better. I think his well-roundedness is that much better. And I like the way he approaches fights. I like his mentality. But I don't think this is going to be an easy fight, and I think I'm going to get scared at least twice during this fight, where Aljo either has him in a position that he can dominate him or having him in a position where he can submit him. I'm going to be scared twice in this fight, but my pick stands. I'm going Petr. Walking out of the cage with the belt that he came in with.
I like Aljo a lot. I really like Aljamain Sterling, and the second he beat Corey Sandhagen and locked him up and submitted him, I knew he was ready for a title shot. And it was in question a little bit. It was in question of if he would get a title shot. Because they gave it to Jose Aldo, or, they gave it to people that weren't as deserving as Aljamain Sterling. Now, Aljamain Sterling has that opportunity. He has that fight. This is it for him. He's been waiting his whole career for the title. I think Petr Yan's too good. I do think I'm not discrediting Aljamain Sterling. I'm giving Petr Yan the credit that he has yet to receive, because I think he's got too many weapons. He does more damage. He's way better on the feet, and he's almost equal on the ground. Not equal, but he can hold his own.
Yeah.
Aljamain's definitely got a ground advantage, and that's where you would like to see it. But I think on the feet, where the fight starts, Petr Yan is he does too much damage. He's too good. He's got too much stamina. He's too much volume. He's too violent. He's too fast. He's too... all these things. So, yeah, give me Petr Yan in that first kind of title fight of the night.
Before we move on, I think the only thing that does kind of stick out to me and that could be an issue, don't know if it will be, is the reach advantage. Aljamain is like a, black spider out there. He is long. He's lanky. He can do things that some other guys can't because of that length. He's got about 4 inches on Petr when it comes to the reach advantage. So I could see Aljamain trying to, and I don't know what his game plan is going to be, if he's going to try to take it to the ground or if he's going to say, hey, I'd like to stand up and use my length, use my range to bob in and out, try to hit the jab, and then right when Petr thinks he's going to go for the jab, hit the takedown. I'm curious to see how and if he uses his length to his advantage. I still have money on Petr, but that's where I think it's going to be scary for me. Like I said, keep in mind, guys, 2 times I will be scared during that fight 2 times.
This fight's so close, you could put money on either one, and if you're right, you'll be happy. Either way, it's a pick 'em.
It's a pick 'em. I got Petr, Piotr, doesn't matter.
Petr.
Lock it in. He's got Petr as well. Next fight. And maybe to me, and we're going to go into length and depth about the Jan Blachowicz fight and Israel Adesanya. So before we do that, obviously, 2-time champ, 2-division champ, Amanda Nunes versus the battle woman herself, Miss one side tatted, other side glorious. I'm a model part-time. I'm a fighter full-time. Kansas City's own, Australia born and raised, Megan freaking Anderson.
I'll cheers to that.
I'll cheers to that, baby. This is going to be a fight that I'm very excited for, but I'm also very scared about. This is the fight that I'm the most scared of on the entire card, only because I do personally actually know Megan Anderson. I want her to win. I love Amanda Nunes. I think she is the most dominant women's athlete in the world. At least one of. I mean, you can argue Serena Williams. You could.
You could argue she's the best UFC fighter ever.
You could.
Man or woman.
I mean, that's always a hard argument for me. It's always hard.
I mean, 2 weights.
At first, I would argue. I mean, like, she took out
2 weights, defended them both.
Yeah, true. But she's taken out the who's who. She is the best. She's hands down the best woman fighter that's ever stepped in the cage.
It's hard to pick guys that defended both belts.
It is, and like only based on
twice or at least once,
and based
both.
on a sport where it's like it is actual strength and skill and fighting and speed. Like, obviously, if you threw her in the cage with John Jones, is she gonna win? Fuck no. But any other sport, we would say, oh, Serena Williams is the greatest athlete that ever lived, because her sport doesn't necessarily compare the same in, like, she can play tennis against Roger Federer and Rafael Nadal. I mean, so that argument's always hard for me when I say, but she is 100% one of the greatest UFC mixed martial artists to ever grace the octagon. She has to be, and if you don't consider her that, you're smoking and you ain't watching the right sport.
It's the Lioness.
So, the Lioness herself, Amanda Nunes, is taking on Megan Anderson. Amanda Nunes and Megan Anderson are fighting at 145 pounds. They don't even have divisional rankings for 145. They don't have enough women to fight at 145. I like this because Megan said, there's not really a way I can fight.
This is
135.
where Amanda Nunes wants to be. She doesn't want to cut weight for 35.
She carries weight, which is why it's scary to me. But so does
Yeah.
Megan. Megan likes carrying weight. She's tall
Megan's
as hell.
big, yeah.
She's very lanky. She is powerful, but I think what her big skill is she is crafty. She's precise with her shots. I think the thing that Amanda is she's just brutal. She's got so much strength, and she just knows
Power
how
shots
to
too,
box. You know what I mean? She's a boxer for sure. Megan's more of a Muay Thai kickboxing striker. She can do a little bit of everything. I don't know if there's necessarily one thing that sticks out better to me that she does than other things. She does a very good job of mixing up kicks and punches, and I think that's one thing that Nunes doesn't necessarily do as much, or maybe she just hasn't had to display her kicking ability as much. So I mean, she can kick, but to me, I think Megan uses her legs and her knees and her, she uses, what is it in Muay Thai? They call it the 6 attacks, 6 points of contact. The fists, the elbows, the head, the knees, and the feet.
knees. Yeah, knees
5.
and legs.
5 points. 5
Those will
points
be
of contact.
big.
So this is interesting to me. Unfortunately, I have to go with my gut. I have to pick Amanda Nunes just because she's a 2-belt holder. I haven't seen anybody, even Chris Cyborg. I mean, we saw what she did to Chris Cyborg. She dogged Chris Cyborg in that freaking octagon. Chris Cyborg was undisputedly the best woman to ever grace the cage until Amanda Nunes stepped in and said, "Hold my beer." So I don't want to take Amanda Nunes, and watch out for my
But
picks.
you're doing it?
But
You're doing it?
you know what?
We're a Kansas City podcast, Blake. We're a Kansas City podcast, and you're picking Amanda Nunes. I can't even look at you.
You know
right
what?
now.
Fuck that. You're right. You're right. You know what? You're right. Fuck that. Because Megan Anderson, new kid on the block, not the newest kid, but a new kid, and she's gonna come in and knock Amanda Nunes on her fucking ass. I said it and forget it. Megan Anderson coming in that bitch, wheeling, dealing, and ain't leaving until Nunes is squealing.
We're a Kansas City podcast. We know Megan Anderson is from Australia, but
We claim her.
her adopted home
We
is
claim her.
Kansas City. She's been training here for so long. Tim Elliott was the first to maybe have a chance at UFC gold, but that was with the Ultimate Fighter. That was different circumstances. This is the first UFC title that, but I feel like it's because Megan
It's
Anderson.
It's we.
So
Let's
many.
be honest.
I'm behind her. I know so many people are behind her, and I know she deals with a lot of negative comments about
She does.
of all the people that doubt her, and so I want her to feel the love when she wins.
That's
and
why I said since the beginning, I've got all my money on Megan Anderson. Never have I questioned it. Never have I ever faltered off of whose corner I am in.
she's great. She deals with a lot more hate than she does admiration, which is just ridiculous. And because she's one of the
haters are
best.
gonna hate.
Yeah, I know.
And ainers are gonna ain't.
Haters are gonna ain't. Everyone's different, but I would love the storyline
Yes.
of Megan Anderson beating Amanda Nunes. How does it happen? Maybe early KO, but it's definitely the legs. It's definitely a kick
I think
or a
it's
knee.
kick or a knee. Yeah.
And
That's what I was
also-
gonna say.
And also, Amanda Nunes just had a kid, and it's not
Yeah.
like
she
a
could be
knock.
holding a little baby weight with her.
But
Could be coming off that mom flow.
like James Krause said in an interview, if there was ever a time to beat Amanda Nunes, now's the time. And
Or like Bruce Buffer would say,
it's
time.
it's time for Megan Anderson. I'm really excited for her. She's going into the toughest fight of her life, the toughest fight of her career. Everything. The toughest opponent, the toughest test,
I mean,
the greatest of all time, Amanda Nunes. And I do believe she will come out victorious. So there's no way I'm not picking Megan Anderson, and it's not because of principle. It's because of it's time for Amanda Nunes to look human. And Megan Anderson is the person to do it.
And also, Megan has been training. Now, this could some people could think this is a detriment, that they were training for the fight originally and then it got canceled pretty close to it because
of
Nunez got sick.
the baby. No,
Yeah.
it's because of the
I
baby.
thought she got sick first. It was reported that she had
Really
sickness.
because
Then
of
she
the
found out she was pregnant. Okay, yeah.
Her partner, Nina Ansarov, also UFC fighter.
Wait, what?
Her partner, Nina Ansarov, had
Is that Nunez's wife?
Yeah, had the baby, and
Well, I'm assuming it was artificially inseminated.
that was why
donor?
that was why the first fight was postponed, I believe. In my opinion.
This is all news to me. You're breaking news on my show to
Yeah.
me. It's not to anybody else probably, but yeah, I didn't know that.
In my opinion, that's why the fight was postponed. I don't think I don't think there was any other reason why the fight was postponed. It wasn't an injury. It wasn't something else. It was because of Nina Ansarov.
Gotcha.
Amanda Nunes' partner had
Gotcha.
a baby. So, I mean, it's a lot of responsibility. I mean, if you know, I mean, me and Blake don't know. But
I don't know.
me and Blake don't know what a baby's
All
like.
the kids I don't have,
But, yeah.
I have a
So-
dog, and everybody says dogs are like kids. Those people smoke crack, but
If there was a time, Megan Anderson, there's no way I'm not picking
nah,
Megan.
you got to be. That's why I never one time that I think that Amanda Nunes is going to win. Literally not. You've heard it here on this show first. B-Cut boys, BZ Byers and Blake Russell. That was gay. Blake Russell over here. Never doubted Megan Anderson.
Never
She's
doubted.
locking it
Plus
in.
700,
Knees,
don't matter.
elbows, leg kicks, head kicks. They're all going down on Saturday. UFC 259.
Let's talk about that main event, Block.
Rolling in to the steak, to the potatoes.
The meat
The meat.
in the... I'm a vegetarian.
Are you?
No,
I was like, what? Why am I learning so many new things today?
I'm not. No.
You're not.
No.
I was going to say, I thought you eat meat on the regular.
I love meat.
Yeah, you do. All up in your mouth. Anyway, moving on. We have the most intriguing fight, probably one of the best title fight contenders, title fights of the year, because there's not a contender. There's nobody in this fight that is a contender. We have one champion at light heavyweight. We have another champion at 185 middleweight.
The style bender.
The style bender is coming in, and this to face Jan Blachowicz, the guy who controls the octagon. But
The Octagon, he's in there.
I was able
He
to
loves
watch,
it.
and Josh was able to also, I assume you also watched it. Israel was on Helwani earlier today, or was it yesterday? It was today. I got to listen to the interview that Israel did. Now, I'm going to say this right now. I have never necessarily been a fan of Israel's persona. To me, he kind of seems like a
Interesting.
troll. Not like Colby Covington type troll who's just doing stuff to be stupid. Izzy is very smart, and he knows what he's doing. But to me, it seemed kind of annoying. But today, I got to watch an entire interview with him on Helwani, and they were discussing the upcoming fight. And really, I think this opened a door to me of a side of Izzy that I hadn't seen before that I have grown on. Something about it, just the way he talked, he wasn't brash. He really wasn't. I mean, Izzy's always brash in the sense of he's very confident. It wasn't so much the fact that he was out there toting his guns like he normally is, though. He was very relaxed setting. It was early in the morning. You really got to really kind of see and peek behind the curtain of the eyes of the man who is Israel Adesanya. And to me, it made me like Israel even more. So that was kind of a huge, not revelation necessarily, but experience to me that I was like, okay, I respect the hell out of one of the greatest fighters that I think has also stepped in the cage. You're 20-0, and you've beaten some amazing talent. So when he added this interview to his pedigree now, to me, bumped him up a whole 10 spots in the book of favorite fighters. Still not my favorite, but definitely earns my respect at least. Not that his fighting hadn't, but his personality now has, so he's got both to add to the cage. That all aside, he dropped a couple interesting things today in his interview with Helwani. Number one, Helwani was really pressuring him and asking him all these questions about cutting weight. Why did he want to move up to lightweight division? Was it time? Were you waiting for John Jones to evacuate the position? Were you waiting, and then it just happened to be good timing? We brought this up last week on the show, or was it 2 weeks ago? I forget now. It was last week on the show where we talked about the heavyweight division, the light heavyweight division, what Adesanya was doing with Jones.
Yeah, if you want to preserve that fight, then Adesanya has to win.
Yes. So, yeah, if you want to preserve the Jones-Adesanya matchup, he has to beat Jan Blachowicz. Now, what's interesting to me is when he talked about weight, this fight is set at 205. He moved up 20 pounds to fight Jan Blachowicz. And he said when Helwani, the nose, asked him about what is he going to fight at, he responded with, honestly, he asked him what he was weighing right now. He said, honestly, I'm probably going to fight at around 195, 198. And not only can Helwani not believe it, I said, what the fuck are you smoking, Izzy? Why are you fighting a 205 fight at 10 pounds less? But when I listened to his explanation for it, it made a lot of sense.
Well, the biggest thing I took from it was he said he could make 185 still.
Yeah. He said, I could still make 185. I also could weigh 205, 210 on I don't know if he said 210, but 205 he said for sure he can make. When he was pressured by Helwani about why would you even do that? Like, I don't think anybody's ever come into the 205 fight from lightweight.
I don't think anyone's pressured by Helwani. Like,
well, yeah, that's true. Yeah, nobody's ever quivering in their boots with Helwani, that's for sure. It's so funny if you ever see Helwani on the Pat McAfee show. Helwani and McAfee always gives Helwani shit, and Helwani's always like, "Oh yeah, well, you should meet me in the streets then, man." And Pat's like, "I would punt you to the moon, man."
He's ducking the schmo,
dude. Oh, the schmo. The
schmo has wanted to grapple Helwani for a long time.
The schmo's wife would beat Ariel Helwani up.
True.
Helen Yee.
Helen Yee.
I actually just followed Helen Yee on Instagram the other day because I realized she does good work.
Good follow.
Yeah. Anyway, going back to it, I was very surprised, but the answer Izzy gave about his weight is basically what he said. I don't understand why guys, when they move up divisions, they focus on adding so much, he said muscle.
Yeah,
so much muscle and so much weight. Your body has never trained with that much muscle, and you think you're going to just get used to it in 2, 3, 4 months? 8 weeks.
It's a good point, yeah.
And it really was. It got me thinking. He said, I focus a lot more on the art and the skill of martial arts, not necessarily who is the stronger opponent. Because he's like, yeah, in some cases, if I was fighting a guy that's 300 pounds, I can't bench press 300 pounds. Like, that's going to be a problem. But if I just add a bunch of weight right before the fight and try to fight just to meet the power aspect of it, I might not have the same amount of power because my speed's going to be down. And just because you lose speed and gain muscle doesn't mean you're gaining power. And when I sat back and thought about this, he actually has a hell of a point. He can fight this fight, and really, 10 pounds isn't that much in the grand scheme of things. Now, when we think about power, we think, well,
crazy.
You've got 20 pounds on you. That's extra power. True, but is he going to have more power when he's slower, or is he going to have more power and speed when he's lighter? I would argue the speed aspect is really what Adesanya's greatest strength is. The fact that he is lightning quick, that he can get in and out, he can jab. He's got a very unorthodox way of fighting, which he also complimented Blachowicz on. He said Jan has a very awkward style of fighting. His cadence is off. It's not normal, like, hey, sit, bounce, 1, 2. It's very non-rhythmic, but in its own rhythm. So, which he said, I also fight like that. So this is probably my best stylistically matchup. But I think he has a point with, I don't need to gain a bunch of weight. What I need to do is I'll gain a couple pounds. But I don't need to be sitting there fighting at 205.
As much, yeah.
Now, granted, this could be the greatest troll scheme, and he could have just been fucking with Helwani, and he's going to show up at 205 on fight night.
We'll see how he weighs in.
We'll see how he weighs in. But he was pretty adamant. He's like, don't be surprised if I weigh in at 193. So when I think about it like that,
Slight flex, but okay.
For Izzy, is it smarter for him to keep his speed and to do what has been so successful for him this entire time? Why make major changes before maybe the biggest fight of your career, which really this is? If he wins this fight, he will not only be the 6th ever double champ.
He's 20-0.
But he's 21-0. He'll be 21-0, and he'll be the first ever UFC champion to move from middleweight to light heavyweight and capture a belt. Nobody's ever done it before. He'll be the first ever. So, I think his tactic, from what he at least put out on the surface, makes plenty of sense. If we see Izzy fighting at 195, 198 maybe, I don't think it's going to be a huge disadvantage for him to come in underweight if he still has all of his speed, if he still has all of his power. And he said there's moves that we haven't even gotten to. He said, you guys haven't even gotten to really, I haven't head kicked anybody and knocked them out yet. I haven't really used a bunch of my Muay Thai to finish anybody. There's a lot of things you haven't seen from me yet. So I got to peek behind the curtain of who Adesanya is and the way he views the sport of mixed martial arts. Another real quick thing before I let Josh go, because I know I've been ranting for a minute.
Well,
Izzy, I don't know, Helwani broke down his record, and to me, my jaw dropped when I heard this.
okay.
So before Izzy obviously got in the UFC, he was a kickboxer. Kickboxing champion, Muay Thai champion.
Mm-hmm.
As a kickboxer, do you know what his record was, Josh?
Well, no.
It was 75-5. That's a pretty damn good record. He is also 5-1 as a professional boxer. Yes, he has had pro boxing matches.
Yeah.
He is also 20-0 in the UFC. Do you know what that record adds out to?
At least a hundo.
106. He is 106
He's
in
a
mixed
combat
martial
sports-
arts combat sport.
Yeah, combat sports
That record
vet.
to me is that's fucking insane. So when you have a guy who's only ever really lost 6 bouts in his entire professional career, I think that just gives even more to the lore and to the story of who Izzy is as a fighter, as a mixed martial arts person, and as just a student of martial arts as a skill set, a mindset, and a way of life. To me, that is fucking scary. That's dude. When I heard that stat, I said, "No fucking way! You're 106." I don't know anybody who has a record like that. But he's also facing the defending champion at lightweight, at light heavyweight.
That's what I was
205,
gonna ask
Jan
you.
Blachowicz.
Who do you got?
I want to hear your breakdown. I just gave like a 10-minute breakdown. You got to give me
Yeah,
something.
I know it was like a 10-minute breakdown.
That was a
But
good one,
I
though.
want to know who you got. Not yet.
I don't want to give my answer yet. I want you to
Okay.
break your shit down, because then it's got to be suspenseful,
Look,
my man.
we
Come
have
on.
we have
Let's
seen,
get the people going.
You're right. We have seen Israel Adesanya get knocked out before. It was not in the UFC, but we have seen it. It's happened. It's out there on the internet. He's been knocked out before. Jan Blachowicz has not ever defended the 205 title. He just beat Dominic Reyes. Me and Blake both kind of knew or predicted that he would beat Dominic Reyes.
Actually,
And
let's back up for a second. I predicted that he would beat Dominic Reyes. You
As
were
did
you were
I.
pretty high on Dominic's balls. You did eventually
predict-
come over to Blahowitz's side, but you were really high on Dominic for a second.
look, Dominic's fighting Jiri
You thought Jiri Prochazka.
So, yeah, don't give me. He's fighting the
You
best
thought
of the
Dominic
best.
beat John Jones. Oh,
I don't
Shante.
believe I said that.
You did.
I could see how people would say that. That's neither here nor there.
That is neither here.
We both picked Jan.
It's all that matters.
Yeah, that's all that matters. And the legendary Polish power, that's a real thing.
It's a real
This
thing.
is legendary Polish power. I do believe him. The one thing that separates Adesanya versus Jan Blachowicz, I think, and I'm not calling Jan dumb, but I think it's fighting intelligence. It's the intelligence of knowing what you're doing in there, knowing what you've seen. And I think that Adesanya, if he wants to, he could stay on the outside the whole time and just kind of pick apart Jan Blachowicz.
Good.
And then Jan Blachowicz would desperately try to take him to the ground. It could be a snooze fest, this potential fight. You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, so the only reason that I think it won't be is because I don't think Jan wants it to be a snooze fest. I think Jan says, I'll take a chance getting knocked out because I think I'm stronger than you. I think my chin works better than you. But I'm going to close the distance on you because I think you're smaller. I don't think you're going to be my. Now, you're not small in height. You're not small in stature, but you're small in weight. And I think Jan wouldn't be the kind of guy that would sit back and just roast and strike it.
It's like it's Jan.
Just wait around for shit to happen.
Jan's been in the game for a very long time. Adesanya,
and he's not afraid to muck it up.
Adesanya's kind of new, you know, in a sense.
Yeah.
Not really new to combat sports. You just mentioned his record. Not new in that sense, but Jan's been in the UFC octagon, and he knows what to expect.
Get it right. It's the octagon.
Now I'm saying that the octagon, as Jan. Oh, I love how he calls it. Gets me fired up every time he calls it that.
Gives me just a little tickle underneath the ball sack.
Little tickle. Chris Tickle. But, yeah, that's a fighter, by the way. Jan Blachowicz, I don't know. I don't know what to expect from him. I know what to expect from Adesanya, I believe, but I also kind of... It could be a revelation. What do you expect from this night? Are we all going to retain our belts? Is Nunes, Jan, and Blachowicz going to retain their title at their weight? Or is there going to be someone that takes the belt? And to this point, you could see really anything happening. It doesn't matter because this is the main event. Adesanya, never been defeated in the UFC. Jan has been. I think his intelligence is the biggest difference maker. I think if he wants to stay on the outside, and granted, you have to beat the champ to be the champ. Well, they're both the champ.
Both the champ. That's the crazy part.
So what's going to
champ.
happen? I think he can outpoint him to become the new champ. He's going to have to really beat him, but I think he does it in a sense where...
Now keep in mind, Josh, this is a 5-round fight, championship fight, main card fight. You think
we've seen
that
Adesanya
Izzy
go
is
5.
going to... No, I'm not even worried about the stamina. Again, this comes back to me saying, you think Jan is going to allow this fight to go 5 rounds without making some sort of aggression eventually, maybe 3rd round, maybe 5th round, towards Adesanya.
It's nothing new for Adesanya. Your aggression, your willingness to engage.
I would say it is, though.
It's
how many people have really... Because I went back and watched that Paulo Costa fight. When we watched it live, I was like, man, this is a pretty solid fight. And then I really didn't think that it should have been stopped.
And it's some gyno on his tit.
He did have a bunch of gynecomastia. Big man titty going on. Don't know what that was. Could it have been performance-enhancing drugs? No, we're not going to say that because we are actual journalists here. We don't want to speculate on bullshit.
It's freaking gyno.
It's just the gyno. It's just a little fat drippage. But to me, I went back and rewatched that fight. It was a horrible fight. Costa sucked. There was so many times where he should have just unloaded where he had Izzy backed up against the fence. Like you talked about Izzy wanting to stay on the outside. Well, he was picking apart, first of all. Another thing that going back to that fight is the announcers kept saying that Izzy was tearing up Costa's leg. He was, but Costa also had suction treatment on his calf.
Like cut him with a head kick.
No, I know. But he had suction treatment on his calf, which made his calf bruised before he ever stepped in the ring. So he had 3 nice rings. And so when Izzy was kicking him, they were amazed. They were like, "Oh, look at his leg; it's all jacked up." And I was like, "Well, no, guys, that was actually bruising that was already there. That wasn't actually bruising."
Yeah. We'll never know how much it
doesn't
hurt.
matter.
We'll never know how much it
doesn't
hurt,
matter because first of all, Izzy was trying to control that fight, but he was staying on the outside. Well, Paulo backed him up against the fence 3 separate times, and those 3 times, Paulo should have unloaded bombs, and he did not. He tried to kick Adesanya at a guy who's 75-5 in a game where you kick people.
Paulo Costa might
beat
Jan.
And also, just have to address the fact real quick. Paulo Costa just came out with probably the worst excuse for post-fight losses, post-loss anything. And if you haven't heard this, basically Paulo Costa came out and said, the reason that I lost is because I couldn't sleep the night before. So what I did, and this was a guy who I didn't think drank, actually, while he was training. But apparently he came out and said, I drank a bottle of wine, and I was either hungover or still drunk when I fought Israel Adesanya. That's why I lost. Can I take
Terrible excuse.
bullshit excuse
No,
for 500?
terrible.
Josh? Bullshit excuse for 500. Please, give me that one.
It's the worst excuse I've ever heard in my life, and it's stupid. And he did it on his YouTube channel. He's
I
like,
mean, it's so,
you know,
it's
no
so
one-
bad. It's so bad. Like, why? Who is advising him to, hey, do that? Unless he did that on his own, take that. And Izzy said it. Izzy said this.
I
But
mean, Waleed
anybody
Ismail
should.
is the most annoying guy I've ever heard in my life. And also, Ali Abdelaziz is pretty annoying, and they're both in his corner, so it kind of makes sense.
I mean, and
they-
honestly, that's
they
what was so
suck
funny about
it.
Izzy. He said, not only change your thought process, accept the loss and move on, you're going to become a better fighter because of it. He said, reevaluate your mindset and reevaluate your camp. And
Yeah.
in
reevaluate,
Helwani,
not your manager, because I think Ali's great, or not great, but he's good. I'm not gonna say great, but man,
But
Waleed
it was
Ismail
just-
sucks.
It was funny. I mean, it was just Izzy said, "Dude, reevaluate your camp because I think they're the ones that held you back." They also allowed you to drink a
Yeah,
whole
but how
bottle.
much do you-
Apparently, they also allowed you to drink a whole bottle of fucking wine before you
How much weight do you think Paulo Costa weighed on fight night?
on fight night. I guarantee he was sitting at
Bet.
220,
Exactly.
225.
How much do you think Jan's gonna weigh? I don't think he. I think
I
he's
think
gonna weigh like
I think
220.
Jan walks around at 230.
But on fight night, he's got to make 205.
He has to
so
make 205.
It's gonna
And,
be
and I
like,
might be wrong. I could be wrong. Jan could walk around at just a cut up 225, which that's not. I mean, the name of the game is weight loss. Some guys are really good at it. Some guys don't care for it. Some guys are bad at it.
on fight night, you'll obviously be more because you weigh.
Of course, you weighed the day earlier.
So I don't think it's gonna be.
I think on fight
that-
night,
Yeah.
I think Jan's going to walk in that cage at 220, 225.
Yeah, me too.
I think Izzy's going to walk in that cage is exactly what he said he did.
205.
No, I don't think.
Like-
I think he's going to be 198. I say Izzy's going to be 198 on fight
Not
night.
on fight night. He'll
Yeah.
be a little bit more.
He said he doesn't plan on it. Now, do I trust Izzy? I don't know. He could be pulling a troll game, but he seems to do. The guy does what he says.
It's the Paulo
know what I
Costa
mean?
fight. It's the Paulo Costa fight all over again.
Do we now? The real question is do we see Izzy walk in with a saggy titty again?
If he's
Do we
got a
see a
little bit
little
of
saggage?
gyno, a little bit of gyno,
Gyno co-masked?
I don't know. That will be interesting. If he does, then it's like
He
hell
walks in with
yeah, he's
saggy
winning.
tit and he wins. We're like, dude.
If you see that,
steroids.
if
No,
you
no.
see that pre-fight, hell yeah, he's winning.
Hell
'Cause,
yeah.
I mean, he's
If
want
I
to
see
know
a
what the
droopy tit
gyno.
pre-fight, I already
you
know who I'm
know.
betting on.
Want to know what the gyno, you know?
I mean, Jan's got all the power and he's got the experience and he's defending the belt. Izzy's coming up, new contender. He's got a lot on the line right now. He has a goal with what he wants to do inside the UFC. He even possibly, maybe, potentially hinted at wanting to move up to heavyweight at some point. I don't know how you're going to do that if you don't
He's
plan
not
on
gonna do that.
That's what, again, he's either a master troll or he's a man with a plan who tells you the plan and doesn't divulge the entire recipe. So
No,
that-
I want the John Jones
Light
fight to be
heavyweight fight.
preserved.
that's
At 205.
No, I know. This is down the line. This is
So-
down the line. This is a man who plans years in advance.
Yeah, you know what, Blake? I'll give you my pick right now.
Yeah, give it to me because that's what I was about to transition to.
I like
Jan Blachowicz,
Adesanya.
Israel Adesanya, 2 belts, 1 belt on the line, but 2 belt holders walking into the ring. UFC Fight Night 259 this Saturday. Who the fuck do you have, Joshua?
Adesanya off of fight intelligence. He knows what's going on in there. He's too smart in there. He can pick apart Jan Blachowicz on the feet. Jan Blachowicz might get desperate and try to take it to the ground, which would be a very smart move for him, maybe. And if he does do it, but also you shoot in those attacks, maybe Izzy's prepared for that.
I haven't seen-
He cracks you with a knee,
Okay.
cracks you with an elbow. I think the fight intelligence of Israel Adesanya is astronomical for the fight game. And personally, as a fan, I want the John Jones Izzy fight to be preserved. I want that idea to be preserved.
Yes.
And it's a little selfish of me, but I don't care because if Jan wins, it's a great story. If Izzy wins, it is legendary.
Yes.
So I stick with the legendary, not the
So you're going
legendary, not the
legendary storyline.
not the legendary Polish power, but the legendary style bender. Israel Adesanya is too smart to be in there with Jan Blachowicz.
Okay. Lock it in. Josh is going. with Israel Adesanya. This is maybe the toughest fight I've picked all year. Hands down. Besides,
I'd love to pick Jan too. I really would. He's a great fighter. He's fantastic. This is a tough fight. It's a great fight.
honestly, I think I can see this fight going both ways, and I feel like I know exactly how it's going to happen. Let's say if Jan wins, I see him winning in this style. Izzy tries to pick him apart and stays on the outside. Well, Jan maneuvers him to the outside and actually tries to test Izzy off the cage. If he can back Izzy into the cage,
smaller cage too.
Yeah, so
favors the power puncher.
Favors the power puncher. There's not a lot of places to run in a smaller cage. I think if Jan is smart, which you know the Polacks, they are smart. Einstein, ever heard of him? I would say that Jan is probably going to try to back Izzy into the fence and then close that gap, because I haven't seen a whole lot of evidence of Izzy being able to fight not in free space. I haven't seen, and that's why I thought Costa had a solid game plan. He just didn't execute it at all. Because when Izzy got into those spaces, Paulo could have just unloaded some bombs really quick, and Izzy, I don't think, would have been able to do too much other than try to throw a knee, try to throw a jab out. But in those against the cage, that lack of weight coming up from a lighter weight class, the power isn't going to be there off the cage, I feel like, as much for Izzy, because he doesn't have that momentum as much. So I think if Jan's going to win, he's going to back him into the cage. He's going to try to corner him, kind of like a lion would corner a gazelle or anything like that, and then try to throw bombs and then try to take him down and control the fight near the cage on the ground. Because I don't think Izzy's game on the ground, even though everybody's touted it, or Izzy's camp really has been the one touting it. Oh, we have good ground game. Oh, we have good ground. Yeah, well, we haven't gotten to see enough of it for me to actually approve your ground game.
Jan has finished dudes on the feet by submission.
By submission, exactly. Standing guillotines and shit.
Yeah, don't sleep on Jan. Yeah,
I think if Jan's gonna win, that's how I'm seeing him doing it. Using his unorthodox style, using his kickboxing, because that's a great matchup for Izzy. Is the kickboxing, because he knows the kind of game that Izzy, I think, wants to play. Izzy's also very, very high IQ fighter. He is a master of mixed martial arts. I see Jan backing him into the cage, hitting some power shots, and then trying to go for the takedown and dominating the game like that. Using the cage to his advantage to take away the length and the speed of Izzy. Now, on the flip side,
so
I can see Izzy winning like this. If Izzy wins, I can see him winning like this. Just like you said, picking him apart, staying on the outside of the cage, using his movement, using his high fight IQ. I don't see a knockout like I saw the Paulo Costa one. But with what he said the other day, with using more of his attributes, using his knees, using his elbows, I could see him maybe trying to catch Jan if Jan decides to go to the ground game.
Yeah.
If he decides to go to the ground game, which I don't know, because Jan can stand up and fight. I mean, he doesn't need to go to the ground. I just think it'd be a smarter tactic against Izzy, but I can see Izzy saying, hey, if I even sense that you're going to do that, you're catching a knee, you're catching an elbow, you're catching an uppercut. I don't think the uppercut's going to put him out, but I think a knee will. I think a knee to Jan's face could put him out. So I see Izzy either trying to win off of just technique and style like he always does, or possibly catching Jan on a shot when he's up against the cage and hitting him with a knee.
You could see it, but who do you got?
But who do I got is the question. At the end of the day, you got Jan Blachowicz and Israel, the last stylebender, Adesanya, the Polish power, versus the last stylebender. Just based on the storyline that Israel wants to follow, I think it's epic. I think it's awesome. It's what everybody wants.
You're going Jan.
I think Izzy's going to take the bag.
Wow.
I think Izzy's going to take the bag. I think it's going to be I think it could be up for fight of the year, possibly.
Oh.
It could be. I think they have a stylistic matchup that is going to be counter to none almost. But I think until somebody proves that Izzy is not human, I think I have to go with Izzy.
Wow.
As much as I wanted to say Jan right there and make you correct, because you knew that's what I was going to do, because I always lead it up and then pick somebody else.
I thought you were going Jan.
I think I have to go Izzy. I have to, because he hasn't lost. I have not been proven. The last time I went against Izzy, I lost $50 to you.
Yeah, well,
So
different circumstances.
But still. So I think at the end of the day, it's Israel Adesanya walking out with 2 belts in that cage. 2 men injured with belts. 1 guy leaves with 2.
Yeah, the videos came around
Or 1.
of Izzy getting knocked out, and it hasn't been as
I got
prevalent.
it pulled up right here.
Because I didn't think that it would happen to Costa, but I do think it might happen with Jan Blachowicz. I have that in the back of my. I think it might. There's definitely a possibility. Jan might KO Israel Adesanya, but I'm not picking that way.
No, but see, that's how I see it. That also being finished is
he might KO him.
Jan KOing him, or like. And when I say he was going to take him to the ground, I think that's what he uses to wear Izzy out and really get ahead. And then once Izzy's worn out, Jan comes in with the freaking
that's a
uppercut from hell.
kickboxing match.
This is
and
a kickboxing
no
match
takedown
right here.
threat.
I've
There's
got
no takedown threat in there.
There is no takedown threat. I got Izzy getting knocked out. If you guys wanted to see it,
yeah,
we'll go back a little bit.
So it's not out of the question. It's not impossible.
Izzy's got knocked out before. There's proof.
We
right
have
there.
seen it.
But that's a kickboxing match.
So, and yeah, really. So I'm not leaving that as a possibility. If there was a guy to do it, Jan might be the guy, but I'm not picking it this time. So
also, that was quite a long time ago that Izzy got knocked out. So
never immune.
End of the day,
it's a sport.
Israel Adesanya. As much as I want to say Jan, Israel Adesanya.
Israel Megan
Anderson. Megan Anderson. Peter Jan.
We better be all right. Yeah. We will be.
That's 3 for 3, Josh. I don't think we've ever picked 3 of the main events, especially championships.
Nope.
Usually we're split on the main event.
We've been split the whole year.
You picked Curtis Blades.
The whole
I was
year
a
we've
champion
been split.
with Derek Lewis. I never bet against the Black Beast. But this is the first time that we've been 3 for that we might be 3 for 3 on
This is the first time we agree on the main event, which I'm very surprised.
So
But
that'll be
is.
interesting to see as we develop this story on Saturday. You guys can check us out
Big
on
fight.
Twitter.
Big fight.
This is going to be a big fight. We're going to be tweeting. Josh always does a really good job of tweeting during the fights. You guys can follow him. You're going to be following me. You can follow me at WakeInBlake29 on Twitter. I will be tweeting during the fight. You can follow Josh Beezy Byers. Is it Joshua Beezy Byers?
Just BZ Byers on Twitter.
Just Beezy Byers. Sorry, I didn't mean to tell everybody your first name.
That's all right. That's my first name. It's
It's Joshua. It's just Beezy Byers what?
BZ Byers on Twitter. That's
just
it.
Beezy Byers on
I
Twitter.
was on there early
Wake,
enough.
capital
I don't need
N
any
Blake
numbers.
on Twitter. Capital Wake in Blake 29 on Twitter. Follow us, guys. Go watch the shows. We got a couple breakdowns. We did this breakdown for this main card. We did the whole main card earlier, and then we won't have any
last
more.
3 fights.
We did the last. I mean, we've done everything. This is the last 3 fights we did on this one. The previous show that we just did was the basically every card except or every fight except this. Hope you guys like it. Comment in the bottom. Let us know. Do you like what we're doing? Is there things that you think we should improve on? Not that I give a fuck because I'm not going to listen to you guys, but also I want to know. I want to know what you have to say. We got some great commenters in the last one. We got some people in there texting and tweeting.
Get up in there. Yeah, get up in there.
that comment section. Get up in that shit like you love it, okay? Treat it nicely.
We appreciate it, yeah,
but
we
love
do.
it. Get in that bad boy. Let us know. I'm Blake, the Snake Schneiders. This is BZ Byers. This has been B-Cut. Watch out for us. UFC 259.
Big night. It's going to be
Gonna
so
be a
fun,
good night.
man. It's
Gonna
going to
be
be so
a good
fun.
night. Peace.